All right, welcome back here again with Polar Bears in Flip Flops. I am joined by my co-host Angelo Villagomez, who's wearing Angelo. I really love your shirt right now. Is that
Oh,
is that new?
thanks to this. It is new, and I actually really, when I got dressed today, I was looking in my closet and was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna wear that new shirt." But
Yeah,
yeah, this is
yeah,
like a $15 shirt that I got at Marshall's.
nice.
And like it's really soft. It actually it kind of looks like if like you ever like wound yourself, and you get
Yeah,
like gauze. Like
yeah,
it's like really it's I don't know if you can tell, but it's like really thick, and it's
yeah,
very
yeah. You can
soft.
see
And I
it.
feel like
It
I'm
almost looks
just
linen, though. Is it
yeah.
linen?
It's definitely cotton. It's too
Yeah.
thick to be linen. I mean,
Okay.
it feels like it's got some like heft to it. Like it
Yeah, yeah,
feels
yeah.
like it's heavy.
But it's not like it's
And
soft.
it's
It's
but
not
it's got like
scratchy.
no. But it's
Okay.
got like these like nice little patterns, and it's just
Yeah.
it feels kind of like not quite thick enough to be a sweater. But
Yeah.
thank you. You also look beautiful.
Well, hey, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. But yeah.
Did you get a haircut? It looks like
I
you
did get a haircut. Yeah, yeah. So I'm still
looking
growing the
looking
hair out,
looking
but
fly.
I got a nice haircut. Gel and everything. I have to get
Uh,
used to that, and it's always fun to. Do you gel
Thankfully
your hair, or do you
you
just
both
kind of let it go?
uh no, this is natural grease
That's
that is in my
fantastic.
head.
Good for you.
So I had long hair up until like a couple of
Yes,
weeks ago,
very long hair. Yeah,
and uh it, long hair is a burden. I think most men don't realize this, and if there's
right.
actually a lot of work that goes into it. And so, as a younger man, when I had short hair, when I'd get in the shower, I'd wash it every day.
Yeah,
But as I had long hair, would no longer do that, and I would go, I would try to go like 5 days, but sometimes it'd be three, sometimes it'd be seven.
without
And
washing the
now
hair.
I'm just not, I'm not in the habit of washing my hair anymore. And
Oh,
actually, like my hair, the listeners are going to be so enthralled by this discussion. My hair has changed over my lifetime. Like when I was a kid, it was light
yeah.
brown, and it was very straight. And then I hit puberty, and it got curly and black. And like
Interesting.
I see pictures of this, and my cousins are like, "That's when you had a perm." I'm like, "No, bro, you had a perm. That was natural. That just happened because of hormones." And then I got like a little bit older, and it's still kind of dark,
Yeah,
but then it kind of like got like a little bit wavy. But like
right.
man, when I was like 14, I had like Shirley
Like
Temple
really
curls.
curly. Oh,
I
really?
Yeah,
Hence
if you
why
can
people
imagine
thought
that.
you had a perm.
Um, yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, but now it's like I grew it long for many years, and it
Yeah.
actually feels thicker than it did 10 years ago.
Oh,
Like
okay.
it like almost like it'll stand up on its own almost.
Wow.
But yeah, that's my hair.
Do you brush
I
it or you
wash
just
it
wave
every
your
couple
hand
of
through it?
days. No, I just kind of go like that, and
Just kind of go like that.
that's what I end up looking like. Yeah,
Well, you look
I
fantastic. You're looking great.
thank you,
You are looking
thank you very much.
fantastic. All right, let's get to the show now. We
But
are
this is
talking. What's that?
This is an ocean
It,
podcast. That's what
it
we should
is
be
an
talking
ocean
about.
podcast. We're going to be talking about oceans. Actually, we're going to be talking about protecting the oceans and 30 by 30 along the coastline, which, a lot of times when we think about marine protected areas and protecting 30% of land and water in the oceans, we think about a lot of times we talk about the high seas or offshore a little bit. These are coastal we're going to be talking about. So, Angela, how close to the coast are we talking about when we talk about coastal?
I just thought I had a conversation this week where I was talking to somebody about how to apply 30 by 30 to the coasts,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a. I'm not going to share what I talked to him about, but I have thoughts, and I can share
Yeah.
them with you. And the reason it's interesting to think about this because if you look at the global reach of marine protected areas, and this news just came out in the last couple of weeks, is some people are saying that the world has finally reached 10% of the
Right.
ocean is
Mm-hmm.
protected. And that's if you our friend Beth Pike, she's been on the show,
Mm-hmm.
right?
She's
Yeah. So
been,
Beth,
has she been, I think she's been on the show. Yeah, she's been on the show. Yeah.
okay, she's actually up in Alaska right now, where she captains a ship during the summer. But
Really?
Beth, yeah, that's her summer job, is she's like a captain up in Alaska. She has a better life than you and I.
A hundred
But
percent.
she wrote a paper a couple of years ago where she looked at the top 100 protected areas and then analyzed them through
Hmm.
the MPA guide, which is like the Rosetta Stone of understanding MPAs. And about two-thirds of the global marine protected area is in these offshore remote areas. And if you read
Mm.
my stuff or like listen to me talk, I'm always talking about overseas territories and MPAs. And so just like the most of the global push to deliver 30 by 30 has been in these far off places,
Hmm.
places, places where I'm from, but places maybe where if you're in Toronto, you've never heard of, and
True.
you
True.
probably will never visit.
Hmm.
But the the underlying values of 30 by 30 and conservation, I do think 30 by 30 is a slogan and a campaign. It is a commitment, but it at its core, it means that we need more conservation, we need better conservation, and we need faster conservation, right? Like we need it in the
Hmm.
next couple of years. Um, and there's been sort of this incentive to achieve that 10% and eventually achieve that 30% is you've got to protect big areas, right? You
Hmm.
got to go out to the high seas. That's why so many people are excited about the high seas agreement. Um, because they think that's going to really help us get closer to that from
Yep.
10% to 20 to 30%. But sort of like as an academic question, when nearshore conservation, which is going to be smaller, right? If you think about habitats like kelp, it's
Hmm.
basically the first couple hundred feet from shore,
Hmm.
and it's maybe in feet, oh god, feet, 60 feet, which is like 20 meters,
About that.
20
Yeah.
20 meters of water up to
Yep.
like maybe 30 or 40 meters of water. So like really close near shore. These habitats are small, and 30 by 30 disincentivizes governments and NGOs and philanthropy to work on those habitats. And it's the same thing with say oysters or seagrass. And so, I wanted to pick your brain about like how do you think we can apply either 30 by 30 directly or some of the values behind 30 by 30 to protect some of these nearshore areas, knowing full well that they're not going to deliver those big numbers, right? If we protected all of the world's kelp again, for example, 100% of the kelp, we protect like 1% of the ocean, if
Yeah.
that, because
Right.
the habitats for kelp are just so small. But at the same time, these coastal habitats punch above their weight, right? They've got, you think of a kelp forest, it's like an undersea rainforest with it's a keystone species that serves as sort of like a highway for all of these migratory species, and then all of these lobsters and other tasty critters that live between the fronds. Yeah, so
Absolutely.
that's kind of what I hope to talk about. Just that's setting
Yeah.
the scene for you.
I think it's really interesting too because how it decentivizes the managers from putting these MPAs together because it doesn't really, like you said, it doesn't really add to the 30% that much. It's not going to be significant. Where you're looking at, you see a lot of like in Canada. I know they start talking about the different MPAs that we have and how they're putting it. This is going to contribute to another 1% or another 5% or add to that and so forth as we get close to that 30%. But I think the way that people have to think about it is what the scale is in terms of the benefits that these habitats produce, right, or provide. You're looking at, we use the kelp forest as an example, obviously a strong example because yes, they're probably like in smaller areas, but the fact is kelp can sequester more carbon than any other land plant, right? That we know of. So that's one incentive is like to protect these areas because of just the carbon capture that it could provide. Then we're looking at other aspects of seagrass areas that are close to shore, some coral areas that are close to shore. These should be protected too because they are literally nursery areas for a lot of fish species. So if you're trying to protect, like I think that what we have to get out of too, we've talked about this in a way before, is it's not just about the number. It's about the quality of what you're protecting and what it provides. When I first learned and did my master's on marine protected areas, it was all about what are we protecting? What's the goal that we're protecting? And we're protecting biodiversity or we're protecting fisheries. It's usually one or the other. Sometimes they try and add both. Well, is it gonna function? We you know of a lot of like close to shore MPAs in small villages that are used that do exactly what they're supposed to do. Allows fish to recover. Sometimes the MPAs move around a little bit, just because it allows like different places to recover, and you start to see we see success in that pretty quickly, like on a couple of years scale to that. So I think we have to get away from just being about the number, because that has kind of
Mhm.
taken over, and actually be about the quality of what we're actually able
Mhm.
to do. I mean, you look at seagrasses, mangroves, kelp forests, all these carbon sequestration habitats are extremely important. Yet we don't find them that important. They're not only important to that, but they're important to fisheries because they're nursery habitats. They're
Yeah.
important to soil erosion, like maintaining like the coastline security, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, they're but they are, they are important to the communities who live right next door, right? They may not
100%.
be seen as important to the United Nations,
Yeah.
to the people tallying up or the number of protected areas, but you think of like in the Chesapeake Bay with all of the seagrass and oysters that are in the Chesapeake Bay. And the Chesapeake Bay is tiny because it's
Yeah.
only about 10,000 square kilometers. It's like 10,000 square kilometers, and I'm not going to do the math in my head, but the U.S.
Yeah.
EEZ is 11,000 square. So what's a thousand into a million? One point oh
100,000.
oh one. There's a
100,000.
couple zeros and there's a decimal point, but it's
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Yeah.
Chesapeake Bay is like 10,000 square kilometers out of 11 million. Um, but you think of like the human connections that people in the Chesapeake Bay have to that area, and the ecosystem services that the
Yeah.
oysters and the seagrass provide. I have a fun story. Like 20 years ago, I was living on Saipan, and there was seagrass in front of the hotels, and and the hotel owners decided it was ugly. The tourists wanted just
Tourists
white
hate
sand.
it in their feet,
Uh,
right?
they they didn't. Yeah, it's just like
It's
it's icky,
gross.
right?
Yeah.
Gross. So the hotel owners wanted to get rid of the seagrass, so they started lobbying the local legislature to allow them to remove the seagrass from in front of the hotels because it was ugly. And I was doing a lot of work with students, and there was a really great science teacher, and she had the students do some science projects. And one of the kids took 2 jars and filled the jars with like food coloring or something. And then she took some seagrass and she put them in one of the jars and just like let it sit for a day. And within like 24 hours, the grass the, had absorbed the food
Hmm.
coloring, showing that, rather than, the thought was that the seagrass was making the water dirty, but the
Hmm.
reality is that the seagrass is actually cleaning the water,
Hmm.
and making the water less dirty. And these are just, when we talk about these nearshore habitats, these are just some of the things that are happening. Anyways,
Well,
that
and
was just a thing
I
from
can
my
add to
past.
that. I can add to that story because we went down as a family on my wife's side to Mexico, when the kids were younger. They were probably around anywhere, like I have two nephews, so they were probably like 6 to, my daughters were probably, my oldest was 10 at the time. We go down there. We're on this small resort, and we're on we're along a beach, and you can kind of see like these little pieces of macroalgae that are like in the sand, and then you can see it. And along the there were two piers. Along the piers, there was seagrass, like pretty long seagrass. You can almost see it at the
Mhm.
surface. And some of the family members were like, "Oh, that's so gross. Like, it sucks that there's seagrass and stuff like that." I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, this is awesome."
Yeah.
And like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "There's so many fish like that are sitting in that seagrass that you don't even know about." It's like, "That's impossible." I'm like, "No, trust me." And I'm like, "Let me grab to grab their nephews." I grabbed my kids, and I was like, "Let's go snorkeling." And we all go over to snorkeling, and it's in like 2 feet of water, so like 2 3 feet of water. So we're barely underwater. Like the kids could get up and like stand on the sand. I part some of the seagrass away, and what pops up, but are all these different little fish, and some like
Mhm.
long, those long pipe fish that are coming
The
out
long
all
fish.
the
Yes.
long the long fish. But it's like the kids, like from then on, like the whole week, the kids were in the seagrass just playing around, looking at for these fish and trying to find as many as they can. And I'm like, I think we get so we look at what I used to look at in magazines. When my dad used to be a travel insurance guy, so we used to go to all these travel shows. And I used to love looking at the magazine and see the beaches, like the clear beaches would just be white sand, even into the water, and you get to
Yeah,
see all this water, and that's what we picture what a nice clean beach should be.
yeah.
But what we don't understand is
And
that a
those
beach
places
is actually
exist.
seagrass and reefs and everything,
Yeah,
right? Sorry, go ahead. You said I cut you off.
those places exist with the sand,
Yeah,
like Turks and Caicos is kind of like that.
yeah.
But there are other types of habitats. That as you were talking, it reminded me of another funny story. Again, like 20 years ago when I was young, and I was doing science surveys, and just sort of like ocean awareness survey that I was involved in. And one of the
Yeah.
questions we asked was, how many different species of fish do you think live around the island? And I remember one interview where the guy was like, "Oh, well, let me think. Uh, there's the small fish, there's the big fish, and then there's I'm not making this up. This really happened. And then there's the like the medium fish. So I think we have three species of fish."
That's awesome. I love that. You know, that reminds me.
So
We
yeah.
had when we used to play Nintendo a lot when we were kids, and there was an ice hockey game, and you had three different types of player you can play with. The
Oh yeah, the
small,
fat, the
really fast
skinny.
guy, yeah, the fat, and
Yeah,
the skinny guys,
yeah,
yeah, and that's what it
yeah.
reminds me
Oh,
of.
that,
Is
that game
like you
was
have
great.
three different types of players.
Yeah, that was ice hockey on the Nintendo.
On Nintendo, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, my favorite game.
there was
Play that all the time.
there was a we would play games where like somebody would be five, because you could actually pick, like you could be all five skinny or all five
Mm-hmm.
fat,
Mm-hmm.
and you'd have to have different strategies if you depending on what your team looked
Depending
like.
on who you played. Yeah, because like the fat guy couldn't move as fast, but he had a
Yeah,
really big shot.
but
Yeah, and he
you
could
could like
hit.
knock people over too, right?
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
knock if you can catch them, you can
Um,
knock them over. But my brother and I used to do
yeah.
like one person has all the fat guys, one person has all the small
Yes,
little
that's what I was
guys,
saying.
and you
Yeah,
had to like try to
I did.
figure it out.
I was doing I was doing the exact same thing with my brother and my
Yeah,
cousins.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. Anyway, so three species of fish you had over in Saipan, like one of the probably most productive places on
Yeah,
Earth.
like like 700 or 800 different species of fish.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
the guy wasn't a fisherman. Like, conversely, like I've got cousins who can name the Carolinian, the Chamorro, and the English name for 300 different species of fish,
Yeah, exactly.
like on the fly. So that
Yeah.
that particular guy was not one of those people.
No, it's not one of those
Uh,
people.
yeah, so this is this nearshore stuff. I think that's actually kind of where the conservation movement is going, because there are lots of people thinking about it.
Hmm.
And 30 by 30 has been incredibly successful, and it met the moment, right?
For sure.
It increased ambitions exponentially. The amount of money coming into ocean conservation is much larger
Yeah.
today than it was 20 years ago. There's much more understanding of the layperson of
Hmm.
what sharks are facing and what turtles are
Yeah,
facing,
for sure.
the importance of protected areas, and the need to eat sustainable seafood. So it's moved us in the right direction. But definitely one of the gaps, or one of the shortcomings, is that it disincentivizes a lot of other types of conservation. And so like I guess like the big question is, do we try to apply 30 by 30 to these nearshore areas, or do we come up with something new? And we have like a different type of goal for these nearshore areas.
It's a great question. Again, like the putting a number on it may not work in near shore. So I think you're right. I think there's another. I think the campaign works in terms of getting people, understanding of what needs to be done. But I think what you have to. I think it's more of a local campaign, like many
Mhm.
local campaigns to get things done. Um, and so I think it's an interesting question, especially like I'm thinking from a Canadian landscape point of view. We are seeing a lot more, like from what I've seen, especially lately, I've seen a lot more Indigenous communities take more control of, say, if it's their treaty land, take more control of the environmental monitoring that they're doing, and then the protection and management that they're doing. So they may not, and that's like a question: is that a category of protected areas officially, quote unquote? But it's a well managed area because we know the people who are doing it. They're doing it well. They've been doing it well for a long time. They've just been ignored over the last however long, and then now they're taking it back and taking management into their own hands, which I think was really great, a great function locally, and then still getting support from federal governments and so forth. Um, I think from a larger perspective of like, I mean, we have a lot of coastal lands in Canada that are on treaty lands, right? Or coastal areas that are on treaty land. So I think that's a benefit to Canada to get that protection. But I think it'd be very difficult to quantify the area from a 30 by 30 perspective. But I think it would be really great to see that continue to build into those areas, and then see how it does in non-indigenous areas where we can put in more protection from a government standpoint. I guess that would be a provincial government standpoint though for us, and like a state for you guys, right? Because you're within the 9 nautical miles.
And it'll be it's 3 or 9 or 12 depending on which state, but it's
Gotcha.
mostly 3. But yeah, I tend to lean some place general. I tend to think of 30 by 30 like it met the moment. That was the thing that really drove conservation for the last 10 years. But I do think it's somewhat of a zombie campaign, and in the sense that like it's still a thing until 2030, but it will expire, and I do think that's normal. I think conservation movement has always evolved. When we were kids, we talked about save the whales, save the rainforest. I haven't seen one of those bumper stickers in 30 years, but it like those slogans meant the same thing. It meant we need more conservation, we need better conservation, we need more money for conservation, and what I think will happen is something new will emerge. The goals change. For the last 5 years, we cared a lot about equity.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we still do. I think that that's
certain places do more than others.
Pushback against that. Yeah, certain people, certain places, and like, will that survive? I don't know. During the Biden years down here, when we had Deb Haaland as our Secretary of Interior, there was much more attention to Indigenous issues. That has kind of gone silent. The Indigenous communities still talk about it. We still try to do conservation in that way, but it doesn't break into the mainstream as much as it was during the Biden years, because we're threatening to invade Greenland, and we're at war with Iran, or we're not at war with Iran. We actually don't know. Depends on the time of the day. But there's like other chaotic things that we're dealing with down here at the moment. But I think there will be a slogan that will emerge, and I think these things tend to different people push their agendas, but that evolves. When we're thinking of protecting 30% of the ocean all those years ago, 10 years ago, the hashtag that we used in the beginning was hashtag protect 30. And then it was like hashtag protect 30 by 30. And then that just kind of evolved into 30 by 30. And it was just kind of a natural thing. And, as it made its way through everybody's communication departments and, whatever people wanted to post online. And people love the ocean, and we all have a special ocean place, and I hope that the next era of conservation doesn't, like, we're not going to throw out all of the lessons from 30 by 30. We're actually going to take them inside and learn from them, and always do better, always do more, and always improving. So
absolutely.
We solved the world. We solved the problem.
I wonder if there's a way to like have, like, if we're looking at a lot of different areas from a local aspect, I wonder if there's a way to, it's kind of like my local area is going to put in an MPA or a series of MPAs faster than your, like, and almost make it a bit of like a competition, like which local area is going to lead the way in putting these together, and how are they going to work together, and then share theirs with other like neighboring communities, and it kind of going a little gangbuster that way. You know what I mean?
Everyone loves a contest.
Yeah. even with protection, right? And I think and it also allows people to feel more in control of their own area, because this is going to be a lot more municipal
Yeah.
and county wide, right? Even regional wide for us. So I think it'll definitely be interesting. But speaking of local and a lot of local people, we're going to introduce a new, well, not a new conference, I guess, a new in the last 5 years, 3 years,
Fourth
4 years,
fourth
year,
year 4.
year 4 of the Upwell conference that happens over Oceans Week. Is it the Tuesday
Yep.
of Oceans Week?
Tuesday and Wednesday. It's gonna be 2 days this year. It's
2
been the
days this year.
first 3 years it was one day,
Yeah.
and it's actually grown. I think the first year it was only 4 hours long.
Right.
It was basically like
Right.
an afternoon. And then the second year it was all day. Third year it was all day, and now we're moving to 2 days.
That's fantastic. And obviously a lot of stuff is going to go on. Can you
Uh,
just kind of give us a general description of what Upwell's all about?
yeah, so I know we're coming to the end of the episode, but if people are still listening, thank you for still listening. We're actually releasing our agenda tomorrow via email. It's sold out, so you can participate online.
Amazing.
But we don't have any more in-person tickets because the rooms are going to be full. We're going to have people hanging from the rafters. But day one is about networking and learning, and we've secured the conference center at the MLK Library in Washington, D.C. They've got 5 classrooms, and in each classroom we have a different track, and there's different, just like a science conference, right? Like there's just different things happening in each room, and the participants can go from room to room and participate in the different things. And the focus is on like career development and networking and learning. There should be panel discussions, and hopefully that is just really interactive. Like it's organized so that you're talking, like you're going to participate. There's going to be breakout groups. And then day 2 is all plenary. It's in the big auditorium. We actually have more space for that, but that's also sold out. And that is going to look like a conference that you see on TV, where there's going to be our keynote speaker is going to come talk to us about deep sea mining. And then we have a series of panel discussions on different issues. And then this other fun thing that we do is we pair a young person with somebody who is young at heart, and they have a conversation about a thing. And we're doing 2 of those this year. Those tend to be really fun and kind of hilarious. Did you ever watch Seth Meyers? He does this bit with Karen Chi, where Karen and Seth share different things from their generations, and they don't understand each other at all. They don't understand each other at all. And we do that with ocean conservation.
I love it.
It's amazing. It's so fun.
That sounds amazing. And so that is the Tuesday and the Wednesday of Oceans Week. Is that what dates are those?
June 2 and 3 taking place in Washington, D.C. And then it will also be broadcast online on YouTube.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I love the fact that it's accessible to everybody over YouTube. So do check that out. It is a great conference. I know a lot of people who have attended, and they've come back with nothing but great things to say. They've learned a lot. I think it'll help move conservation into the next realm. It's helping to move conservation into the next realm, because there's a lot more we have to do to conserve. We have to reach and include more people, to get into it. So I think it's great. What do you love most about it, Angelo? You've been to every single one.
I've organized every single one.
You've organized every single one.
I love that people feel comfortable. And like we invite them to be themselves. And people, like in ocean conservation, you're not always invited to be yourself because you have to be professional. And throughout the course of the day, people laugh, people like cry. There was some dirty crying at the last conference when this one girl got up and made kind of a little speech. And she's 14 now. She was 13 last year. But she's actually, she just participated as an audience member. This year she's going to be on stage because she was so smart.
She was so compelling. Nice.
Yeah, so
that's
compelling.
Awesome.
Yeah, just like the like that, it feels safe, and like people feel like that they can laugh and they can cry and they have fun.
Yeah, I mean that's good.
And they feel like that. The people feel welcome.
Yeah.
They feel like they feel like they belong. Like you go home you go home and you're like, I belong in this movement.
Mm. I think that's a very important thing because not a lot of people think that way. After every conference or a lot of conferences. So that's really good to hear. Awesome. Okay, great. Well, we're up on about 30 minutes on the show, so we're gonna end the show today. But thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. Tune in next week. We'll talk. What do you want to talk about next week? The flavor of the week, or do we have something in mind?
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna be in Santa Barbara where it will be 2 p.m. on a Thursday.
Okay.
And I need to look at my schedule. I need to look at the schedule.
All right. So
I'm
to be
going
determined
to,
next Thursday.
yeah, TBD. I'm going to an indigenous kelp gathering, but maybe we could
Ooh.
talk about kelp.
I would love that. That would be awesome. Okay, cool. Well, we stay tuned to see if we will be in tune, but we'll put up a thing before just to let you know and start announcing our shows. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. This has been another episode of Polar Bears and Flip Flops from Angel and I. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time, and happy conservation.